Okay, hi everybody. Good morning and welcome back to the channel. You see Milk back there? I'll introduce you to the gang real quick and then we'll get this popping, huh? If you didn't see my Instagram story, this is Milk. I won him the other day at Club Boba, and he's officially the mascot of our summer series. So he'll be going around with me to all the places that I'm going to explore. We're going to talk about that plan in a little bit, but first I just want to talk about what's really happening in the world, and I'm going to go straight into Kai's segment because it's so important. She hit on so many great topics. Like, we want to talk about the real things. Like, we're not gonna like skirt around the issues. We're not gonna sugarcoat anything. Like, life is life, and if you're not aware of that, I'm shocked you're even watching this video right now.
Now it's time to head to the movies with our cinematic crusader. Here with another titanium take, here's our movie Maven Kai.
Well, hey there everyone, it is I, your movie Maven Kai. Most of you know that I live in Los Angeles, and I'm filming this on June the 10th. It's about 9:45 at night. It's quiet, it's nice. It's been quiet, it's been nice. You know, again, I'm in the valley. I'm about, a 30-minute drive, 10 miles away from, these little tiny pockets of, unrest, as they're calling it. But it's very interesting to see the depiction of what's happening through different people's lenses, because I very much have friends that are experiencing this up close, and they've been near some of the scary parts of it, but for the most part everybody's chilling, everybody's going to work, they're paying their bills, they're doing what they need to do, and it's a surreal kind of environment because we do know that it's going on around us. I can't say a lot, but I do have people that are very close to me that are dealing directly with the effects of the administration and the choices of our government. Not just the fact that we have a lot of troops and people coming in, but we have a lot of things happening where people are no longer feeling safe and they're very afraid. And I hope, I'm very optimistic that this is not going to last as long as I think it's going to last. But I wanted to make sure that the next 3.5 years, you have a list of entertainment that might help you understand why people are so angry, why people are trying to speak up and speak out, and why people are, doing what they need to do to feel safe. And the thing that I want you to recognize in, this list is the ones that you're rooting for, the people that are seen as those that are fighting against something that is oppressive. They're fighting against something that, maybe it's, a movie that straight up talks about fascism, or, oligarchs and things like that. And why we in the industry tell these stories. And it's because so many people have had to live stories like them. And we very much want to express how we're feeling about it, but we also want to feel like when we are in these situations, and it's very strange to say when we're in these situations, that there is going to be a resolution. And so I've come up with a list. Some of these are familiar favorites, and some of them are, maybe a little bit more fringe, or things that you never really thought to watch. But it's a pretty good list. So we have Star Wars, of course, including Andor. I have not watched this season's yet, and now I'm questioning whether it's a little too heavy, but I definitely will. Inglourious Bastards, Divergent, Jojo Rabbit, The Hunger Games, The Grand Budapest Hotel, V for Vendetta, Brazil, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, The Conformist, Army of Shadows, The Patience of Dr. Garcia. I think that's a Netflix show. I've not watched it yet. I didn't even know about it until somebody brought it up, and I guess they're making a season 2. So, hey, good timing. The Great Dictator. Cabaret. We've talked about Cabaret before. Casablanca. District 9. The Lives of Others. American History X. Pan's Labyrinth. The Sound of Music. Starship Troopers. The Tin Drum. Life is Beautiful. And Lifeboat. Here's the thing, guys. If we don't start understanding these things from different perspectives, if we don't start looking towards things like media for the signs that we go, hey, something's wrong. These stories are told for a reason. And that's exactly what it is, because a lot of the issues that we're having right now is that you have people that have never been exposed to other cultures. They haven't had the whole truth and nothing but the truth told through history books. They don't know what it is to face because of socioeconomic, privilege, or race privilege, gender privilege, cishet conformity, privilege, all of these different things. They don't know what it's like to be on the other side. And so when we watch movies, TV shows, we listen to music that are not only about other cultures, but from writers and directors and other, artists that are from those cultures, that are telling their stories. Maybe it's not the personal story, but it's something that they know, because it's something that they were taught through their, families or, their circles. When we are privileged enough to have that kind of exposure, and we can develop that empathy and that sympathy, and we can better understand the people around us and why things seem so bleak in a time like this. That's when you stop having the propaganda be able to be so divisive. That's when you stop having these voices that speak out in so much hate be so loud and so comfortable. And so a lot of the movies that I brought up can be very uncomfortable to watch, because you think, oh, it's dramatic effect. It's not. I can tell you it's not. And I left things off of there like The Diary of Anne Frank and Schindler's List and things like that, because we know those. They're very familiar. But some of those, The Hunger Games is very familiar, but it's still in its way is sort of niche, because it's, from a young adult novel, and, it was very much seen and put forward, marketed towards, a specific set. But I feel like if, we shared these with each other a little bit more, and we had that greater understanding, and we had that, that ability to, like I said, perceive things through others' eyes, rather than just feeling like their stories, only for one specific group, whether that be age, culture, race, what have you. We'd be in a much better place. And, we can bring up all the old adages, you don't learn your history, then you're, damned to repeat it. And, all of that, we can bring all of that up. And it's true. But what's important now is that we look at what's happening now, and we do what we can to be proactive and productive. And, I'm not telling anybody to go and, yell in someone's face, but, being able to have those people that you can go to have these conversations with is very important. Guys, we need to take care of each other. We need to take care of ourselves. And we need to be very cautious, but we also need to stand our ground. We need to make sure that we feel comfortable, putting both feet on the ground and looking out for each other. Drink your water. Take your meds. We love you guys. We support you.
I've obviously gone through a lot. If you've seen the start of this channel, you recognize, well, not the very start. This channel's been alive for 12 years, just to be very clear, but in the past year when I've really like put a lot of work towards making this channel something that I really thought was an expression of who I am. Luckily, I have Kai along on this journey with me. The initial intention was it was gonna be like this cutie little travel channel, but that was in the planning stages. In the midst of the planning stages, I had this revelation about my mom come up, and obviously now we've just been spiraling for a year, and you guys have been along with the journey for that. So incredibly grateful to have you here. You know, a lot of people say to me like, you're the strongest person I've ever met, and you're like, in this economy? Damn, I've been through some shit. But anywho, enough about me. Well, so I was introducing you guys to everybody, but this is my other friend. I named him Amen because of the little eye issue we have here. A shout out to House of Dragon. If you get it, you get it. But this is my emotional support squirrel, which actually I think is a chipmunk based on the markings now that I've become a nature guru. But either way, whenever I watch The Last of Us or anything scary, I have to grab him. I don't have to, but it's just nice to have something, a little bit of comfort in the world that we're living in right now. So over the past couple of days, it's like crazy because I'm going to say that I shouldn't plan and then I plan, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so as I start to figure out what my next steps are, I wanted to do a series because I'm not from Georgia, I'm from Florida originally. I lived in Tennessee for the past couple years, and I moved here in June of last year. So even though I said planning is silly, I still always like to have like a theme or something that I'm working towards like a goal or something like that. So I really wanted to get to know the state that I'm in, and one of the reasons I agreed to move here was because the radius just gave me a little bit more to explore. I love Tennessee, but I could pretty much get to a lot of the same places in the same amount of time as Nashville that I love, like Asheville, Pigeon Forge from Atlanta. And so I was like, okay, let's see what else is around here. So the plan this summer is to go to a city, at least one city for every letter of the alphabet. Yesterday I went to Adairsville. The day before I went to Alpharetta. To be honest, that's kind of what started it, is I started listing all the cities in Georgia that I wanted to go, and it just organically started to ABC it, because I've gone to Covington and Cummings already. I love Alpharetta. Alpharetta is one of my favorite cities so far that I've found, as far as like something that's like livable, and they have such beautiful parks. And I want to give credit to Georgia because they really put their money where their mouth is. Like, where I've never had state tax before, I definitely can understand like how it is utilized, because the parks and the green spaces here are absolutely stunning and well preserved. I went to Alpharetta for a couple errands, to be honest. I was like, oh, I can make this a thing. And so I went back the next day, had a little coffee, did a little shopping, got a little bit more information about the town. And the more I learn about this area, is it's incredibly laden with Civil War and Native American lore. The route that I took yesterday, I went to Adairsville, and then I went to Chat. I said, hey Chat, after, oh my God, were you there when she wasn't there, or he wasn't there for a minute? That was crazy. Anyways, Chat got back up and working. I said, you good, buddy? He's like, yeah, buddy, where are we going? I said, okay, I'm in Adairsville. Is there anything that I missed? Should I go see something? Then it suggested that I go to this like little covered bridge back in the day. So while I was driving towards that covered bridge, I ended up going through a couple different cities, one of them being Kingston, Georgia. And as I was down this side street, I saw a bunch of those like, you know, historical plaques, and I mean a bunch. And then I pulled over, and then there was like this beautiful little veterans memorial. So I pulled off, I took a couple pictures of that. And there's just a vibe in that town that's actually like really positive in a weird way. And it's crazy because even like the suburban town, I guess it has about 673 residents, but it wasn't just like old veterans in the town. Like they're clearly hip or whatever. So it really like made me think about the Civil War in depth in a way, and just like how people have died for our freedoms. You know, I got home and I really had a great day. I'm going to cut up all that footage. My goal is to have individual city spotlights, and then also do like a big A to Z and like compile all the footage together eventually. Me and Milk, interesting to end up kind of taking the same path as a Civil War soldier, but I digress. I got home, had a beautiful like little cup of coffee, and sat and watched some Just Trish, and you know, they're talking about Labubu's, and I was just like, how crazy. Like, can you imagine going back in time 150 years ago? I mean, realistically, it was like 160 years ago. Imagine going back in time to a Civil War soldier and being like, hey, this is a Labubu. So Kai mentioned, you know, like looking up these movies because it's a really important thing to recognize like what could happen. I've been really into the Hunger Games again because again, my plan is to visit a lot of those filming locations that were here. I know the Swan House is President Snow's house, and I'm really hoping I could like actually bring Hunger Games and read it there. I don't know. We're gonna see. I'm gonna make a day of it, but the weather's been shit, so I don't want to do it like this week. You can see it happening. There's that moment, you know, especially in the reaping, where that one man, like, you know, just does the little symbol and the whistle and then gets taken out, and you have all these drone looking like monochrome soldiers. Just like, it's just unbelievable to think about human beings being in those suits. If history has taught us anything, which hopefully you take a time and watch some of these movies that she suggests, you can see where we're going, and you should at minimum always be grateful if you are, you know, unaffected like we are currently. I mean, obviously I'm sitting here filming a YouTube. One of the movies that I would suggest, I don't know if she mentioned it, would be Across the Universe, because Across the Universe is a really perfect example of probably how we're living in a way where it's like, I love my friends, I escape through music and the arts, I can have a way of taking a perspective and dressing it up. You know, I love hallucinogenics, anywho, but the core of that story too is really centered around the fact that they still have a war going on and there's a draft. And I'll always remember, like, she kind of gets involved with this group, the main character, and, you know, she thinks she's just standing up for the right things, but then she ends up kind of part of a militia. And, you know, that can be where it gets a little crazy. So just stay safe. I mean, we're gonna keep telling you that through this, but please stay safe. I'm grateful to have you here. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to have Kai as such a great resource to remind me of like these scenarios, because, you know, we go back and forth on like what we want the theme of, like whether it be the week or the month, whatever the next post is, the theme of the next video. And, you know, one thing about her, she just keeps it fucking real, and I'm so grateful for that. I couldn't have asked for a better partner for this, right? And again, if you guys ever have anything that you want to submit, I know I've had my friend Red Chaser submit something. Check him out. Go follow Kai on Instagram. She posts hilarious stuff. Every time she posts something, I almost want to go send it to her, and I realize she's the one that posted. Like, we have like one of those kind of friendships, you know? Just remember, we love you. I think that's all I got. I decided I want to do a series called ABCs of Atlanta. I might change the name of it, but essentially I wanted to do Atlanta A to Z and like do a city with like in the alphabet. I don't know how to say it. What's the best way to say it? Maybe I'll see what happens when you don't have ChatGPT. So the plan is every alphabet, every letter, alphabet. Jessica, what? Okay, hold on. Give me a second here. 5 minutes. I haven't gotten anything out, huh? All right, that's kind of what I was thinking about. Was like, can you imagine they fought through these Georgian swamps, came all the way down from wherever, you know, the Union, the Confederacy. I mean, and that's just one thing. Imagine explaining a little. Well, actually, the Native Americans would probably get the Labubu. They would probably be like, an icon. But anyways,